Hello, grade 10s. Our next lesson is 4.5, which is negative exponents and reciprocals. Now, before we start with this, let's talk about what a reciprocal is. So a reciprocal is any two numbers that multiply together to get the number 1. So for example, 4 and 1/4 are reciprocals. That's because 4 times 1/4, if I multiply them together, it's like a 4/1. So you go top times top, so you'd get 4 on the top, bottom times bottom, so you'd get 4 on the bottom, and 4/4 is 1. So that's why 4/1 and 1/4 are reciprocals. Another example would be 2/3 and 3/2. These are reciprocals because if you multiply them together, 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 2 is 6, which gives us 1. So you should notice that a number and its reciprocal are flipped fractions from one another. So if I would ask you 1/5, what's the reciprocal of 1/5? You should say 5/1. Again, the fraction is just flipped. Now, what does this have to do with what we've been doing? Well, we're talking actually about a reciprocal in terms of an exponent. And you need to have a negative exponent if you're representing a reciprocal. So the rule, and I'd like you to please write this down in your notes, the rule is that x to the power of negative n is 1 over x to the n. So when you see a negative exponent, it flips whatever fraction you're dealing with. Not a fractional exponent, but a fractional base. Also, if you have a negative on the bottom, like in this second part, then it just becomes x to the power of n. So if you have a negative on the bottom, it flips it up as well. So again, a negative exponent flips your base. Let's try some. Here's the first one. We're evaluating each of these. So 3 to the power of -2. The base here would be 3/1. So if I want to get rid of that negative exponent, I have to flip it to be a 1/3. Now the exponent is positive. So when I flip the base, it just takes away the negative sign as the exponent. Now I have to apply the power of 2 to the fraction. And we have to square both the top and the bottom. So 1 squared is 1 and 3 squared is 9. So 3 to the power of -2 is actually 1/9. Let's try the next one. It's -3/4 to the power of -3. So first, I want to deal with that negative exponent up there. And that negative exponent, again, flips the base. So it's going to become a -4/3. But now my exponent has changed to be positive. Again, the negative exponent flipped the base. Now I can apply that power of 3 to both the top and the bottom. So we have 4 cubed, which is 64. And 3 cubed, which is 27, but this whole thing is still negative because when you cube a negative, it's still negative. So that would be our answer, -64/27. Let's try another one. Here we have 0.3 to the exponent -4. So again, this would be like 0.3/1. So what I'd start by doing is to get rid of the negative exponent, I flip the fraction. So it'd be 1 over 0.3 to the power of 4. Then we're going to apply the power of 4 to both the top and the bottom. So 1 to the power of 4 is 1, but 0.3 to the power of 4 is 0.0081. And you can actually type this into your calculator yet too, and go 1 divided by 0.0081, and you'll get 123.456, and it keeps on going, something like that. Okay, let's try some more. Now these ones are negative exponents, but they're also fractional exponents. So let's see how that changes things. So here we have 8 to the power of -2/3. So let's deal with the negative first. The negative is going to take my 8 and flip it into 1/8. Now let's deal with the fraction. The fraction 2/3 changes this into a cube root of 1/8 and then squares your answer. So again, the cube root of 1 is just 1. The cube root of 8 is 2. So the cube root of 1/8 is actually 1/2. but I'm still going to have to square it. And again, I square the top and the bottom separately. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. So the answer to this whole big question is just 1 over 4. Let's try another one. Again, we're going to deal with the negative exponent first. So the negative exponent is going to flip our fraction into a 16 over 9. Now the negative is gone with the exponent, but the fraction exponent is still there. So now let's deal with that fraction. The denominator is 2, which means I've got a square root of 16 over 9. And then the top is 3, which means that's my power. So now we're going to square root 16 to get 4, and we'll square root 9 to get 3. But this thing is still cubed. So then we're going to apply the cube to top and bottom. So 4 cubed is 64, and 3 cubed is 27. So our answer here is 64 divided by 27. Now I know this is tricky, so make sure you take some time to figure out some of these questions on your own. We're going to start at page 233, and we're going to do all of numbers 5 to 9 to make sure you've really got this. It's going to be tough to move on to the next section unless you've got these questions figured out. Good luck, and let me know if you have any trouble.